Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Mike from 1AAuto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And next time you need parts for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we show you how to replace the rear struts on this 2003 Chevy Monte Carlo with unloaded struts from 1AAuto.com. And we show you on the passenger side, but the driver's side is the same procedure. And the items that you'll need for this is new rear struts unloaded from 1AAuto.com, 13, 18, 19, and 21 millimeter socket and ratchet with an extension, 14 and 15 millimeter wrenches, 6 millimeter Allen bit, T45 Torx bit, hammer, flat blade screwdriver, torque wrench, jack and jack stands, spring compressors, and a strut socket. Start off in the trunk, pull back this insulation. And you want to remove these three 15 millimeter nuts. You can remove this cap so that one's easier to get to. You will have to use a wrench for the back one, but you can use a 15 millimeter socket and ratchet for the other two. Loosen up the lug nut caps and pull your hubcap off. And then remove the lug nuts, and you want to loosen these while the vehicle's on the ground, then raise the vehicle and remove them the rest of the way if you don't have air powered tools. And now just pull the wheel off. Using a 14 millimeter wrench on the back and an 18 millimeter socket and ratchet, just remove this nut. Push the sway bar out and put it to the side. And now remove these two 21 millimeter nuts. Next, remove these two 13 millimeter bolts that hold your caliper into place. Now pry your caliper off and set it aside. Easy. Hammer the bottom of the strut to loosen the bolts, and then hammer the bolts out. And now pull your rotor off, and then lift the strut up and push it back off the knuckle. And once you get it off the knuckle, you can pull it down. And the studs at the top will pull out. Put the spring compressors on either side of the spring. And then tighten each one back and forth a little bit at a time. Now, using a strut socket and a T45 Torx bit, just remove the nut at the top of the strut.
And a 7/8 oxygen sensor socket can work for this as well.
Now pull the plate free, and then pull your spring off, along with this gasket that goes down along the bottom, and then your boot. And for the boot, you will have to kind of work it off of the bottom here. And once you get it free, you can just pull it up and off. Up top is the old unloaded strut. Below it is the new unloaded strut from 1A Auto. You can see they're identical and they'll fit exactly the same. Take this gasket and put it down into place. And then put your boot in place. And now take your spring and you want to put it down into that notch right there. Just lower it down into place. And then push your plate down onto the strut with the rounded end facing the brackets on the bottom. Now put this down into place. Push down on the strut and replace the nut. And then tighten it up using your strut socket. And on our new strut, it's a 6mm Allen instead of the T45 Torx bit. Now loosen each side a little at a time. And just repeat this until your spring compressors pull free. Feed the strut up into place.
Get the top up and
Push down on the knuckle.
push down.
And feed the strut behind it. And just push it onto the knuckle. Now feed your bolts through.
2 bolts in place.
And replace the nuts on the other side. And just have them on there hand tight. Now put a jack underneath the knuckle. Line up the studs. You want to make sure you have at least one of them lined up. And once you can see one, just replace the nut. And you want now pry out right here so that the other studs will line up. And then using the jack, just push the studs up and through. And then replace the nuts. Now hammer these 2 bolts in as much as you can, and then just tighten up the nuts and it'll pull the bolts the rest of the way through. Now torque these to 120 foot-pounds. Push your rotor into place. And then put your caliper back into place and hammer it on. And then replace the bolts on the back of it and tighten them up. And make sure you push your sway bar link back into place and replace that 18mm nut. Replace your wheel. And then replace the lug nuts and tighten them preliminarily. Then lower the vehicle and tighten them the rest of the way. And then torque each of these to 100 foot-pounds in a crossing pattern. Replace your hubcap and tighten up these lug nut caps.
And now go back into the trunk and tighten up those three 15mm bolts. Put the rubber stopper, rubber bumper back on the top, the insulator, and put the trunk trim back in place. We hope this video helps you out. Brought to you by oneaauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free, 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.